So here I have an equation, right? And remember, an equation is two mathematical expressions set equally to each other. And so right now what I have is a mathematical expression over here in this box and a mathematical expression over here in this box. Okay, so right now my equation says 5 Cheerios equals 5 Cheerios, right? And so, right, we can actually do this. 5 Cheerios equals 5 Cheerios. So now the question is, what can I do to both sides of the equation that keeps it an equation? They still have to be equal. So let's talk about some things I can do. So let's try this. What if I add 2 Cheerios to this side? What if I add 2 Cheerios on this side? What do I have to do to the other side to make it equal? Well, notice I would have to do the same. I would have to add 2 Cheerios, right? And so we sort of know that. That's kind of obvious, and you've probably even learned this before, right? That what I would have to do is I would have to add 2 to both sides. And notice I'm adding 2 to both sides of the equal sign, right? Like I could even draw a wall down the middle, and I could see it's on both sides of the wall. So now what I have is I have 7 Cheerios and 7 Cheerios. Okay, so, but let's talk about, so that's sort of a simple idea, but the idea itself is the basis of all of algebra. So what did I do? I added 2 to both sides. This actually has a name. It's called the addition property of equality. And what that property says, it's a rule, right? You can like find it in textbooks and stuff. And what it says is that I can take an equation and I can add the same thing to both sides, right? So that's what the rule says. I can just have an equation and then it's cool if I add the same thing to both sides, it'll stay equal. Okay, so that's scenario number 1. Let's keep going now. You're going to move on to scenario 2. I'm going to fold my paper so that you can see scenario number 2 on my paper, along with the Cheerios, right? But you won't have to fold yours. So scenario number 2. Oops, sorry guys. Now, scenario number 2 is I have 7 Cheerios on each side. Okay, and they're equal to each other. I have 7 equals 7. So now, what if I take away? I'm going to take away 1, 2, 3, 4 Cheerios. What do I have to do on the other side? The same, of course. I'm going to take away 4. So what I did was I took away 4. I took away 4. And what I was left with when I took away 4 on both sides of the equation, both sides of the equal sign, is I ended up with 3. And 3 still equals 3, right? So that's still an equation. So what did I do? I subtracted 4 from both sides. And this also has a name. It's called the subtraction property of equality. And that just says that I'm allowed to do that I'm allowed to take the same amount from both sides. Okay, here's scenario number 3. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I already have, which is 3 Cheerios, and I'm going to double it. I'm going to multiply it by 2. I'm going to multiply it by 2, right? And what I'm going to end up with is the original 3 Cheerios plus another 3 Cheerios. So that's going to be a total of 6 over here. Right, here's my other 3 over here. It's a total of 6. So I end up with 6 equals 6. I'm multiplying by 2. And I end up with 6 equals 6, right? Still an equation. So what did I do? I multiplied by 2 on both sides. What's this called? I think you can probably guess. It's called the multiplication property of equality. And remember, all this says is that I have an equation where 2 things are equal, and the multiplication property of equality just says, oh yeah, you can multiply them both by the same number. They'll still be equal. That's what the property says. And then the last scenario, let's see if I can squeeze it in without folding my paper, is now I have 6, and I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide each side into 3 parts. And when I divide each side into 3 parts, look, this, right, these are equal, these are equal, these are equal. So when I take my 6 and I divide each by 3, what I still have is an equation, 2 equals 2. What did I do? I divided by 3 on both sides, right? And visually, I can sort of make it into, I can even make it sort of 3 equations, right? This is like 2 equals 2, 2 equals 2, 2 equals 2. Or I could just remove 4 on each side and I would have 2 equals 2 as one equation. This is, I bet you can guess, the division property of equality. Okay. So now that you've done that, you're going to flip over to the other page and you're actually going to have a chance to practice this. So go ahead and find this page.